We're back, my friend.
We're back. We've had a break for a couple of weeks as we've been busy, but it's good to see you again and have this conversation.
Traveling. Any travel for you? Staying
Uh,
home,
starting
cold.
start no, starting to come up. Actually, I'm based here in the Boston area. We've got some things happening in town next week, so it'll be good to meet some colleagues. The funny thing that I was saying to one of the guys we work with is, we do all this Zoom stuff where everybody's seated. What's funny about meeting people in person now that you've never met because of this COVID period that we've been in is, you probably have an idea of how tall you think everyone is, and then you see them in person when they're standing up. And funny enough, the guy that I said this to, he was like, "Oh, well, how tall do you think I am?" And I was like, "I don't know, like average height. Maybe you're like 5'10" or something." So he says to another guy, "I'm like, am I average height?" And the guy's like, "Oh no, he's tall. He's like 6'2". So it'd be,
Oh wow.
and I'm 6 feet tall, so I'll be looking up at him, but it'll be funny to see some people in person. And then I think from an industry standpoint, we've got some events, some in-person events that we're kicking off at Datto, our day job, right? So some fun things that we're going to be doing, getting out and talking to people about Microsoft Azure and about Microsoft 365 and some of the ways that Datto helps with those solutions. So it'll be good, and I think some conferences and those kind of things are coming up for me as well. So, but I know you've been on the road lately and out interacting with some partners and talking to them as well, right?
Yeah, so last week I was in ASCII, Kansas City. And like you said, it was very interesting. The first night, everyone was standing. Like you said, everybody was interacting, talking, connecting. Um, and it's interesting because sometimes you can do a little thing that it caught someone else's attention. There was a partner that had a red shirt that says humans are optional. So I'm like, okay, wait, I need to talk. So then I saw someone else, and okay, so there's two of them. Then I saw a third one. Okay, I definitely need to talk to them to see what is the thing. And we started talking about what they do and things like that. So it was a good interaction. And I created I have my regular business cards,
Mm-hmm.
but then I created my own digital cards. So I have a business NFC and a personal. So I'm doing connection, and they look at it. Oh, that's a cool concept. No, no, let me touch your phone. As soon as I gave them my information through the NFC card, the view in their mind changed dramatically,
Mm.
because this little thing now open that it was just a basic, simple, hi, how are you, who you are, to wait, I need to understand what you and your company do for business. And it was interesting to dive into what everybody was doing, how they're doing Azure, regular stuff. And I'm thinking that we're talking here about those nuances, those little things that can make the difference. Um,
Well, you're gonna have to give me the NFC tip and share that link with those who are watching as well too, because I haven't seen anybody do that yet. I think I'm kind of aware that there's stuff like that. The thing that I've done at a conference, and this goes back pre-COVID though, is that you can go into the LinkedIn mobile app and turn on, local discovery or whatever. And I don't know if it's through Bluetooth or what kind of, but it'll kind of show you the people in the room, and you can kind of do some, like if we're all sitting around at a breakout table or
yeah.
something. And I think that's pretty cool as a way to get connected with people who are close to you. But yeah, I think it is those little, it's almost like the little magic trick with a little flourish, coming out that, but it shows something, from a technical, and you realize that we show up for calls, we get on, we talk about business, it's all kind of zoomy and right, like, and then we hang up, and then you don't have those little moments of discovery or overhearing somebody in the office talking about something and saying, hey, that was cool, what are you doing with that? But I know from talking with you about your trip that you had some things that you noticed, right? Especially, ASCII is a group that's been around in the industry for a long time. It's great at bringing people together. And part of what happens when people get together is sharing best practices. And especially in the tech industry and the MSP specifically, there's a lot of variety in kind of where people are at in terms of stages of maturity and kind of how they use various tools to manage their business. So, what were some of the things that you found as you were talking to the group?
It was very interesting that there's still business owners that are managing their business as if they were a little tech shop.
Mm-hmm.
I was interacting with a lot of them, sharing some practices, and they go, also, I can integrate how do I do my reporting for my billing, how do I manage, and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can integrate it. And it was interesting because there are people that probably have been in business for a while,
Mm-hmm.
or others that are still trying to build the solution themselves. There
Mm-hmm.
was one that actually they mentioned to me that they actually provide VoIP service. They're a small shop, so they actually host it themselves and they do everything themselves. So I'm assuming that probably they're using some open source or something like that. And I mentioned to them, have you thought about partnering with X, Y, and Z partner that was right there? It's like they do all the work for you, they host everything, and they pay you.
Mm-hmm.
So connecting them to make it easy, because in today's world, when you leverage the right tool for the job, you reduce, I always say it that way, you reduce your operational expense and your risk. Now you can focus on actually interacting with the customer.
But it is kind of a mental pivot that you have to make, right? The I even think about like my side business on the weekends is I do drone photography, and initially it was just a hobby and it was something fun to do, and then I found out that if I got my FAA license, I can actually go ahead and charge, do commercial work. But then, how do I do that, and how do I send invoices? How do I uh, when it comes back to kind of taking all the raw photos off of the camera, how do I process those and make them actually look good and professional? And you can spend a lot of time trying to not spend money on that stuff, right? And just use the free tools that are out there. But then eventually it was like, no, this has turned into enough of a business for me that I can make some money on the side. Uh, I don't rely on it as my income, right? It's kind of fun money and vacation money or tech toys money, which it's nice to then be able to kind of funnel that money through and not have to explain why am I spending money on this new drone, because I'm earning money to pay for it. But I did go ahead and buy a subscription for the Adobe Suite, right? Like they have a photography bundle. I use Adobe Lightroom. It costs money, but it's worth it because the amount of uh, resource that I get from that and the tools that I can use to deliver a more professional uh, product, it then is going to help me earn more money. And so I think that's very similar to what you're describing with MSPs, is that you can avoid spending money on tools for a while, but then you kind of get to the point where you say, if I want to go to the next level with what I'm doing, it makes sense to invest. But obviously, I have to be very thoughtful about what I invest in tools. And I want to have something that I look at that will be with me for the long term, right? I don't want to do a tool and then I have to migrate to another tool and another tool. So, pretending I'm kind of in the MSP role, right? And I meet you at this thing and you dazzle me with your NFC card and all that stuff. And I say, like, I'm kind of in this stage where I'm thinking about tools. What are some of the tools that I should look at first, and which ones will give me room to grow? What advice would you have?
That was part of the conversation that we had. And like one of the people that I interacted, they were a long-term customer. And I said, okay, so are you leveraging anything to manage how your users are getting their emails? Because right now we know that your email is your first target, or business email compromise. And we start just diving into the conversation, not from a selling standpoint, because I think
Sure.
that that's what I have found out, that if you try to interact with someone as a human being, like you're drinking coffee, like what we're doing today, you actually can learn where they are,
Hmm.
and they will just say, hey, here's my challenge. I
Yep.
don't have a solution for that, but I'm looking for one. And that
Hmm.
was what I was looking for. Hey, the customer that I mentioned to you, they were like, I'm looking for something that when I onboard a customer, I can build and send
Hmm.
tickets to whoever they need to. So that's what it's called, a PSA. There's a couple of options. We have a very good one. And it was interesting to start guiding them and connecting the pictures. And I think that one of the largest roles that I've always done is trying to paint the picture without the product. If we, as technology professionals, and if we do that for our customers, so if the MSP do that for the customer, it then help them to identify, okay, here's the solution that I'm gonna be able to build. So they wanted to automatically, they onboard someone, they create a ticket, the ticket goes to the right group, and then they bill for the project, and then they connect it to something else
Hmm.
that actually it went to the degree that it's okay, here's my business card, like the actual business card, not the other one. We interact, but say, okay, send me a message and I will connect you.
Mm.
So right on Monday morning, I had an email with the person's contact. It's like, okay, you mentioned that you can help me. I'm looking for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Can you book a meeting? And like we book a meeting, and it was interesting because it showed me that if we are willing to go out and interact, and I don't want to say that we go to a conference to look for business because I go to connect.
Hmm.
But when you're willing to give from you, then you can learn from someone else and then you interact with them.
Yeah, and I think so. There are a few things that I will pull out that I think were really important that you highlighted there. So the first one is from a mindset standpoint, and this is something that I think I try to live and you live, the way you interact with people and as you connect with them, but then also we bring into our day-to-day work, as well as what we would encourage MSP partners to think about as they work with customers. Uh, so it's helping, not selling, right? That's kind of the first piece is like focus on helping other people. What problems are they dealing with, even if they don't know they're dealing with those problems, and help them. Don't sell to them because, and it kind of goes with the next principle here is those who teach earn the right to sell. So if I teach you something, if I share something of value with you, then somewhere down the road if you need to buy something that meets the kind of the things that I do, then you're going to remember me because I helped you, because I taught you something, and you're going to come and give me the opportunity to sell something to you. And this is very much aligned with if you follow HubSpot and their inbound marketing methodology, it's very helpful in kind of a mindset and kind of getting your head wrapped around it. I would encourage every MSP to go do the inbound marketing certification on HubSpot. It's free. It's obviously geared towards their software. If you happen to use their software for your website and your CRM and marketing automation, the concepts are manifested in the software itself and how you would use it. But there's usefulness whether you use their tools or others. But if you think about people in general in the world are in three different buyer's journey stages: learning, shopping, and buying. We spend the majority of our time in learning mode, right? We always want to learn more. We're always out there just kind of reading things and having conversations and picking up little bits and pieces with people. But if you talk to me like the scenario you just described, um, maybe I didn't realize I had a need for this, but now I'm learning. And you're saying, yeah, there's a lot of people out there, they deal with trying to manage and make sure they don't drop any balls with the customer needs this, need that. Ticketing system gives you a way to kind of keep track of all that. So you just said, here's a problem that exists in the world, and here's how people solve it. You never mention a product, you never mention a company. It's just here's a problem, and here's a, oh, I have that. Now they go into shopping mode, which would be among all the choices that are out there in the world, which ones do you recommend? Which ones do you know about, right? Tell me about some of the different options that are out there. And that's where you say, like, oh, well, we happen to have one. Other companies have one. Here are different things you would look at to kind of evaluate one versus another. And buying mode comes into, okay, among all the choices that are out there, why is this option the best? Why would I buy this one as an alternative to everything else? And so that mental progression from learning, shopping, and buying is how everybody makes every kind of decision, right? Like you live in South Florida. If you decide you want to have a boat or another boat, I don't even know if you have one today, right? Like you probably wouldn't walk right into a showroom and talk to the salesperson because they're going to be selling, 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 right? They're going to have dollar signs in their eyes. You'd start online. I want to be learning mode. I want to see what are the different types of boats. Do I want a party boat? Do I want a speed boat? Do I want a whatever, right? There's all different. Then once you get a sense of what you might want, now you're in shopping mode. Now I want to go in, I want to see what kind of opportunities they have, how I'm going to finance it, all the different kind of things, and then actually make a buying decision and then explain to your wife why you just spent $25,000 on a new boat, right? All those kind of fun things that happen. So I think there's that process that people go through in making those decisions about buying things. It starts with learning. And again, going back, if you're teaching people, if you're just sharing helpful information, whether it's about IT services and ransomware prevention, or how to manage a business and how to handle billing and ticketing, there are all kinds of things that we all have to learn. And that's, we can all read the internet forever, but talking to people who have already developed some subject matter expertise is a way to cut through a lot of that stuff and just get somebody else's take.
And you just mentioned something that is like I have a lot of ties into nonprofit world because of a lot of stuff that I've done for a while. And it's an interesting world that as people in every industry, they share sometimes the same struggles. So sometimes we limit ourselves into one area. And that was interesting because when I was talking to them last week, there was there was a partner that actually we were talking, and I like what he did for his software. And then he said, I would like to learn more directly with you. It was not about the product of the company, was to like a mentoring type relationship with that partner.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because right away I said, okay, what do I have that I can share? He was specifically talking about cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm like, cool, let's sit down and let's talk. So we were trying to talk. He shared a little bit about what he does. So we talk a little bit and say, hey, I will leverage this area. Here's some resources. Here's some things. And like you said, when someone is actually, it's like they said, when the student is ready, the teacher, the master appears. And I think that we are always in that journey that at some area we are researching, at some area we're like looking to buy, and then like, hey, I'm ready to pull my credit card right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that uh, I'm an Apple guy.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know you. I love my PC. So studio because of the capacity that I have, PC, mobile, so I can actually. I haven't found, and I don't know why, I haven't found a PC that have all the graphic card that I want in a small form factor. I don't know, like the gaming. I have a gaming laptop that I bought here, and those things have great power, but those things are like 10 pounds.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
so when
Not
you
very
and then
portable.
the other thing is the power brick. The power brick sometimes weight more than the laptop. So I'm always looking at what is coming new on Apple. So this week the M2 is making noise. It's coming. It's not coming and stuff like that. And it's interesting because looking at technology, sometimes some of us are early adopters.
Mm-hmm.
Other are in the middle, and others are laggers, or after everybody have implemented, all the bugs have gone.
Sure.
um, are you in the front end, on the back end? Where are you?
Yeah, I think I've always been as early as my wallet will allow me to be on those things. I've never been a Mac guy. I mean, maybe that's because I worked for more than 10 years at Microsoft. I got a little too, into the Microsoft Kool-Aid. But I do carry an iPhone and have for a long time now, and have iPads and Apple TV and all those, that the explosion of all that stuff. But yeah, I like trying out the new things. I like checking out the new technology. Um, there's got to be some use for it, like the drone stuff. I've been doing drones for 5 years. I don't know if that makes me an early adopter. I think maybe starting to get a little bit more mainstream, but still kind of unique. So yeah, I enjoy the new stuff and playing with it and trying to figure out how it works. The one fun fact that I'll give is that during the time that I worked for Microsoft is when Microsoft had the Xbox, but then came out with the Kinect. So if you remember that, that was their camera that came out and let you play, games and kind of move your body and all that stuff. I got into the employee beta of that and had it shipped out. plug it into the Xbox, and the kids, I had to tell them, like, you can't tell your friends at school that doing this, because that was when the Wii was popular, right? Like, so the Wii was out,
Yeah.
and that was kind of the motion controller and those things. Now here was the opportunity to play the same kind of games, but not have to have anything in their hands. So that was our, like, so the kids still remember that from when they were little. That was their early beta testing experience with something new and cutting edge.
Yeah, so I mentioned that because I think that also when we serve people, we're going to have a certain population of our customers that if we can cater a specific service, again, think about it, servicing, helping them, they will pay that premium
Hmm.
because you're actually helping them innovate faster for their business. I remember that at one point in time, uh, there was a customer that I work with that it was a pain, but he paid for that. He
Hmm.
wanted always the latest, newest thing. I remember that one time when Robinhood was literally just coming out and it was only available in certain places. He literally paid a 3 hour session on a Saturday night that I need to learn what this is. And it was interesting that when I bring that to enterprises or to small businesses, there's always a market, but you have to define what you do.
Sure.
And that was one of the things that one of the speakers, I think that his name was Steve. I will look. He had the first presentation of the day in asking, and that was the specific thing that he said. He said, "I look for customers that I can deliver the value and that it will be different. I
Hmm.
don't work with everyone." And he actually he make a joke, and I think that what he says, like, you need to let some of your customers go so you can actually focus on the ones that are going to help you grow.
Right.
And this guy, he was a solopreneur. In his first year, uh, he made a mill, and partnering with someone else, they're like, if you make a mill, I will make these t-shirts that says you need to talk to Steve. So then he made it. Then all his peers were wearing the shirts and technically making promotion for him. You need to talk to this guy.
Yeah.
So then next year he went up to 1.5. And for some companies, they may already be doing more than that. But for a guy that is starting and in his second year alone, he cut 1.5. He was sharing the tips, and it was interesting because people that were in business for a while, they were like, "Oh, this is gold." So I think that if we can look how we carve ourselves in a niche
Hmm.
to then say, "Okay, here's what I'm gonna innovate. I'm gonna bring the partners, and I'm gonna build the solution stack that
Yeah.
I need." That like that's like when we're talking about, hey, you need a great BCR solution. That's where we carve our niche for the longest time. You're moving into the cloud. Well, we have a great solution in there that actually I haven't seen anything like that
Hmm.
before. And I'm like, I wish that I had this when I was managing my cloud data centers long time ago. And then you interact. Your data is what is managed. So I manage it, I report it, I then, if emails come in. So I have that solution stack
Hmm.
that help me then say, I can sleep at night. I can then deliver something for my customers and partners that it will help them. That make a killer offer right there.
Yeah, and I think you have to lead, right? Like, if you're going to develop your service offering, you have to have your point of view, your perspective on how things should be done. You have to have that expertise and not be shy about sharing it with other people, because the customers, especially for a managed service provider, they may be in a variety of industries, or you may choose to specialize. Like, we have MSPs that we work with who are really good at small medical practices or law firms or manufacturing companies or whatever the scenario is. But they didn't start that way, right? Like they probably had a couple of customers and then they realized, okay, I'm really understanding the needs of the business and how we support that. And then you figure it, well, if one company in that industry needs that, then probably others do too, right? Like how can I turn this into a thing and become known for that? I think too often technology providers, they don't want to say no to anyone. So they don't, they're like, well, what do you specialize in? What are you good at? Everything. We'll do it all. Eh, I'll put you in the bucket with all the other generalists then, because but if you tell me that, I'm really good at mixed environments with Apple and Mac, or I'm good at, cloud, I'm good at whatever. I can help with other things too, but this is really kind of the specialty we've developed here, or I've developed. Now all of a sudden you're known for something, right? Because you're willing to kind of put yourself out there and express a personal preference or a specialization or an expertise, that maybe other people don't have. And people will remember you for that and want to come back and talk to you because of it.
Yeah, it's like I don't touch an Android.
Hmm.
I get people like ask me all the time, "Hey, I saw you that you did this thing. What app do you use?" And I'm like, I have no clue on the Android." Like literally, and it's funny. Sometimes you try to help. Like I get, like I said on the nonprofit, I get sometimes like older folks that they get
Yeah.
an Android that is like 7 years old, and they're like, "Hey, how do I connect to YouTube with this thing or something like that?" Um, but like I said, when you specialize, you actually then use your skills to then grow your business, but also yourself, and that make the difference.
Oh yeah.
Um, like right now, we're live streaming,
Yeah.
and for the longest, I've been doing live stream, but businesses were not into it. They didn't think that that was the way to go. Um, and it wasn't until probably, I would say, 5 years ago. I'm going to probably date myself. Do you remember ICQ, the messenger? The one that had the
Yes.
flower?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So when that was out, um, Microsoft released the Microsoft Cam 3000, the little ball. Do you remember
Hmm.
the white camera?
Yeah.
So I got one of those, and that platform, it was not like a live stream, but you were able to interact with video. And I remember having one of those at that time. We're talking about probably almost 20 years ago. Uh,
Hmm.
and it was an interesting idea that then you start connecting and carving an edge. And then all of a sudden, like I said, people start recognizing that skill set in my side. You have seen how some of the internal meetings that we go to, I try to start them,
Yeah.
but it is thinking about what the customer experience will be. If you can wow your customer in every interaction, it doesn't matter what it is, then they will be willing to partner with you and they will pay top dollar because, hey, the other person doesn't make me feel like that. This is what we pay to go to Disney.
Yeah. And I think that's, it is creating experiences, right? Those are the things, experiences big and small. And that's, I think, what helps shape the overall customer journey and, their interactions and what they think about and kind of why they want to work with you.
Well, my friend, I'm looking forward for the M2 when it come out because I burned my previous Mac. Uh, I I actually, it's interesting. I had a Mac Air and a MacBook Pro 15. So the Mac Air, I can change the battery just like that. I
Hmm.
had it for since 2012. So when the battery dies, there's four screws and a ribbon. Take it out,
Hmm.
put it on a battery. When I got the MacBook Pro, everything is connected. There's like 50 million screws. And I took one of the screws and it fell literally between four contacts and it fried the whole motherboard.
Oh.
So thank God that I had a good backup solution. So
Mm.
I was able to get all my data back without no problem. But I'm looking forward for the M2 when that one come out, so I can then uh, do some other stuff while I'm on the road. So I could do the live streaming and connecting all the cameras and all that kind of stuff. I'm probably I'm gonna have to talk to you about a drone because I want to buy one. So when I'm outside, it will probably my wife love to take Instagram videos.
Yeah.
She makes a ton of money, so I'm probably gonna put her to teach that. uh, but I want to get her a drone. Those are follow. So so
Oh
I'm gonna
yeah.
ask you about.
Yeah, I mean that's the so the fun thing for me, baseball season's about to start, and so I took my drone into Boston last weekend, Fenway Park, just put it up in the air and took some pictures and those kind of things, and then they were getting ready to, they have a tarp that they roll out when it rains to protect the infield, so they just received a brand new tarp. LL Bean is the company that sponsors the tarp, and LL Bean's a New England business, so just up in Maine, and so they were rolling out the tarp and kind of spun around. So I did a hyperlapse video of that and put it on Instagram. And then my kids are my TikTok admins; they do the TikTok videos. But it gets like 6,000 views, which is my biggest performing video in both places so far. So yeah, it's fun to use it as a different way to capture content, to take that with you. They have a lot of great capabilities, the ability to draw a box around someone and have it follow you, and even make it do an orbit as you go. This is the active track feature of the DJI drone. So yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff to do with drones, and like the entry level one is like $500. It's something that everybody can do and folds up and throw it in your bag and pop it out and control it with your phone. It's really easy to do. So it's good stuff. So happy to help you and your wife when you're ready for that.
Well, I'm gonna be calling you. I'm gonna see you next week in
Yes.
Boston, so we'll talk about that. So, my friends, have been awesome to see you again. We'll be back next week with another tech conversation secret. So, we'll see you next week.